Picture this, there's a talented runner with a unique running style that captures everyone's attention, eager to join a marathon that's already underway. They arrive late to the starting line, looking at the distant silhouettes of the other runners who have a significant head start. Undeterred, they begin their race, showcasing their impressive skills and even gaining some ground on the competition. But despite their determination and prowess, the overwhelming advantage the other racers had from the start is just too much to overcome. And that's the story of Windows Phone, a promising contender that entered the smartphone race late and couldn't catch up to the competition. In October 2010, Microsoft made a bold announcement that would shake up the mobile industry. The company unveiled its ambitious Windows Phone platform, aiming to take on the heavyweights Apple and Google. Now, Microsoft was previously a leader in the smartphone space with Windows Mobile, so with the launch of Windows Phone 7, Microsoft was ready to stake its claim in the rapidly growing consumer smartphone market. The initial lineup of Windows Phone devices was launched on November 8, 2010 here in the US, featuring handsets from major manufacturers such as Samsung, LG, and HTC. This right here is the HTC Surround, which slides up, and instead of a keyboard, what you get is a higher quality speaker. But back to Windows Phone, with its unique tiled interface and integration with Microsoft services, the platform offered an experience different from the dominant iOS and Android operating systems. Windows Phone 8 was announced in June 2012 and launched in October of that same year with significant improvements to the platform, including support for multi-core processors, higher screen resolutions, and expandable storage. This update aimed to make Windows Phone a stronger contender in the race for smartphone supremacy. At its peak in 2013, Windows Phone had a 3.4% global market share, which is a number that was dwarfed by the dominating forces of Apple and Google. In April 2014, Microsoft announced Windows Phone 8.1, which was released later that year. This version introduced several key features such as the digital assistant Cortana, the Action Center for notifications, and other user interface enhancements. Despite these advancements, Windows Phone 8.1 faced the same challenges as its predecessors, struggling to gain traction in a market dominated by iOS and Android. In January 2015, Microsoft announced Windows 10 Mobile, the successor to Windows Phone 8.1 and part of their broader Windows 10 ecosystem. Designed to provide a unified experience across devices, Windows 10 Mobile introduced support for universal Windows platform apps and featured Continuum, a capability that transformed smartphones into PCs when connected to external displays. As the challenges facing Windows 10 Mobile persisted, it became clear that Microsoft's mobile platform couldn't break the dominance of iOS and Android. And in October 2017, Joe Belfiore, then the corporate vice president of Microsoft, announced on Twitter that the company would no longer develop new features or hardware for Windows 10 Mobile. The focus would shift to supporting existing devices with bug fixes and security updates. The cancellation of Windows Phone signified the end of Microsoft's mobile dreams, prompting the company to concentrate on enhancing their software and services for iOS and Android users. By adopting a cross-platform strategy, Microsoft aimed to maintain its relevance and serve the needs of its customers regardless of the devices that they used. This marked a significant change in direction for the tech giant as they sought to capitalize on the strengths of their rivals rather than continue to compete head-on in the smartphone market. So, what tripped up Windows Phone in this race? Let's take a closer look at the hurdles it faced and the missed opportunities that could have changed the game. First, Microsoft seemed to have tunnel vision when they acquired Nokia for $7.2 billion. Got a couple of those Nokia Windows phones here. And this Nokia Lumia phone is still famous for having that 41 megapixel camera on the back. Nokia was the former king of cell phones, and this move alienated other key manufacturers like Samsung and HTC. In other words, Microsoft was basically competing with their partners in a way. So these manufacturers went on to reap the benefits of partnering with Google on Android, leaving Windows Phone in the dust. Microsoft should have nurtured relationships with multiple manufacturers to create a diverse range of devices, broadening their appeal to customers. Next, there was a significant app gap problem. Did you know that Windows Phone users couldn't use Snapchat or Instagram? Without access to beloved apps like those and even YouTube, consumers just weren't interested in the Windows Phone. It was like being invited to a party only to find out that all your favorite snacks aren't there. Microsoft should have invested more resources and incentives in building a robust and diverse app ecosystem. They could have offered better incentives for developers to create apps specifically for Windows Phone, ensuring that users had access to the same popular apps that made Android and iOS stand out. Next, there was the super rocky relationship with Google. Let's just say Google and Microsoft weren't exactly besties. Google's API requirements and Microsoft's inability to work around them meant Windows Phone users had a very subpar YouTube experience when compared to Android and iOS. And again, this is like going to a concert, but only being able to listen from outside the venue. Microsoft should have tried harder to resolve their differences with Google, which we saw Apple do several times, or at least find alternative ways to provide YouTube access for their users. Then there was the marketing. Windows Phone's marketing strategy wasn't as effective as it could have been. In a world where Apple and Android were already household names, the Windows Phone needed to make a bold statement to stand out. Microsoft should have focused on promoting their unique selling points like the live tiles and seamless integration with their services to differentiate themselves from the competition. Next, Microsoft's tardiness in entering the smartphone market was a critical factor in the Windows Phone's failure. By the time the Windows Phone arrived on the scene, Apple and Google had already established themselves as the dominant players. Microsoft could have acted sooner and more decisively to develop a competitive smartphone platform before the market became saturated. Fast forward to 2020, and Microsoft had made peace with Android. Under Satya and Nadella's leadership, they'd shifted their focus to collaboration, even going as far as putting Android on their foldable Surface phone. It seems like Microsoft learned the hard way that embracing the competition can sometimes be the best strategy. They now focus on developing their software and services across all platforms, fostering cooperation and partnerships with other industry giants. In the years following the cancellation of Windows Phone, Microsoft has successfully expanded its presence on iOS and Android devices, with popular apps like Office, Outlook, and OneDrive becoming integral parts of many users' mobile experiences. Microsoft has also embraced collaboration and partnerships with other industry leaders, demonstrating a newfound openness and adaptability in their approach to the ever-evolving world of technology. So, what can we learn from Windows Phone's late entry in the race? Well, it's clear that in the world of mobile tech, you need a good customer experience, cross-platform compatibility, a context-rich experience, reliable performance, and a solid app ecosystem. Collaboration rather than rivalry is key. Now, the real question for me is if a company with the software prowess, money, and mobile experience like Microsoft couldn't become a legitimate third player in the smartphone OS world, what would it take for a company to actually succeed here? Is it even possible at this point? What do you think it would take to break the iOS and Android duopoly? As we reach the finish line of our Windows Phone saga, let's remember the tale of the latecomer marathon runner. Their determination, unique style, and undeniable talent were not enough to overcome the hurdles of joining the race late and the advantages held by the front runners. The Windows Phone, much like our ambitious runner, showed potential and innovation, but ultimately couldn't claim a spot on the podium. If you want to learn about another company that rose and fell in the smartphone game, be sure to check out the video I did on the shocking downfall of LG smartphones. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I appreciate your support. I'm Andrew Edwards, and I will catch you in the next video.